Storytime about my roommate's crazy girlfriend. I'm a lesbian living with my good friend who's a guy. I own the apartment and rent out the room to him. A month ago, he met a girl online and they started dating. She's constantly at our place and I'll be honest, I don't like her. She's always been incredibly rude and standoffish towards me. I eventually learned that it's because she thought I had a thing for my roomie even after he told her I was gay, to which she replied that I don't look gay. A few weeks ago at a kickback at our place, I pulled her aside telling her that I really am gay and I hope that we could be friends. She seemed to take this very well and was overly friendly with me for the rest of the night. The next day, my roommate wanted to talk to me saying that his girlfriend feels uncomfortable around me after I drunkenly hit on her. What? I wasn't drunk at all and I'm not attracted to her whatsoever. I explained to my roommate what really happened and he was skeptical but took my word for it, chalking it up to a miscommunication. A week later, we had another kickback and his girlfriend was there, of course. I was cordial but stayed away so another miscommunication wouldn't happen. Towards the end of the night, another friend said to me, "Dude, what's going on? She's telling everyone that you've been hitting on her all night." I was pissed off and went up to her in front of everyone saying, "What the hell's going on? Why are you speaking lies about me hitting on you to all my friends?" Part 2 of my roommate's crazy girlfriend. She stared at me, unable to respond. Then I said, "Just because I'm gay doesn't mean that I'm into you. Trust me, I'm not the least bit interested in you." She started sobbing and spewing BS, so I kicked her out and told her that she's not welcome anymore for making me uncomfortable in my own apartment. Her and my roommate both left and he was super pissed at me. He didn't come back for a while, but I got some angry texts. However, I stood my ground about her not being welcome anymore. I told him he was free to stay or move out as he pleases. Most of her friends were on my side. Nearly a week later, my roommate returned home and he was giving me the silent treatment. I figured I'd just leave him alone and let him get over it. Then his girlfriend started calling me and demanding that I give the phone to him because he apparently wasn't speaking to her. I told her to kick rocks and that I wasn't getting in their business anymore. Soon after, my roommate finally started talking to me again. Turns out they got into a huge blowout fight and his girlfriend admitted that she wanted me to flirt with her just to prove that she could pull a lesbian. He told her that was messed up and then broke up with her on the spot. She wouldn't stop blowing up our phones for weeks until I finally blocked her number. It's been a few months and my roommate moved out. We're definitely not as close, but we're still good friends. His ex-girlfriend recently came out as bisexual on social media. How ironic. Storytime about the best thing I saw as a hotel concierge. I've been working as a front desk agent for about a week. I'm working on a slow afternoon and it's about 7 p.m. when this lady named Libby comes in. She tells me she wants to reserve a room, but only for a couple hours. I let her know that she has to reserve it for a full night due to a hotel policy. She agrees and hands me her credit card. This is where things get weird. As soon as I ask her for her ID to make the reservation, Libby says that she doesn't want her name on the reservation and to use the name of the man joining her later instead. I told her if she's using the room then I need to put her on the accompanying list, but that only employees would see this. At this point, I'm thinking she's here for a one-night stand and doesn't want the guy knowing her information because she's probably married or something. This theory is further solidified when Libby asked me to make a note in the reservation that if we need to address her by name, then to use a different one that she gives me. She even goes as far as to show me the picture of the guy who will be joining her, takes the key, and goes on her way. About an hour later, mystery dude Jake walks in and gets the other key. Not even 30 minutes after Jake goes up, Libby comes back down and hands me both keys. She says thank you and walks off. This is when things get interesting. Part 2 about the best thing I saw as a hotel concierge. So many thoughts were going through my head. First, that was way too fast, even for a quickie. Second, why the heck did she give me both keys? Where's Jake? Third, Libby, please tell me you didn't unalive Jake. My coworker and I are whispering with each other, still trying to figure out what happened because I did not look like a lady who just had a pleasant romp in the sheets. Cue Jake coming down the stairs and, okay, we can breathe, he's not dead. We had a rush of guests so I couldn't see what happened, but a worker from the valet came over and boy did he have some tea to spill. Turns out that Libby had gone as far as asking the valet guy to park her car in a way where the license plate wouldn't be visible. This is because Jake is Libby's husband. Apparently the alias Libby had given me just so happened to be the name of the girl that Jake was cheating on her with. This woman somehow got her cheating husband to believe that his girlfriend had booked a sweet night at a hotel only for him to show up and find his wife sitting on the bed instead. Then she came down after probably massacring the heck out of this idiot without a hair out of place. The valet brought their cars around as she waited for him to get his sorry ass back to the lobby just so she could extend her hand and demand their house keys from him. Then she got into her car and just drove away. What a legend. Storytime about how a stranger tried to trick me into joining a swingers club. I woke up late one morning for class and I was in a rush. I threw on a hoodie and some leggings and ran out of the house looking like a mess. When I got to my car, I noticed it was raining outside, but despite this, I was still speeding trying to make it on time. This idea turned out to be as bad as it sounds and I ended up rear-ending an SUV. I was super broke at the time and didn't have money to pay any sort of deductible. The guy I hit introduced himself as John and made sure that I was okay. To my surprise, he acted like it was no big deal and told me not to worry about the small amount of damage. He immediately got off topic and asked me if I'd be interested in going to a women empowerment seminar that he was hosting. When I politely declined, he told me that he'd only forget about the damage to his SUV if I attended one of the classes. He started ranting about how he's trying to help people and empower women and explained that he's trying to expand his classes. I agreed and he gave me a flyer with the information. I showed up late to a meeting and discovered pretty quickly that it wasn't as innocent as John advertised. Everyone there seemed a bit off, and John was going over various techniques of how to intimately empower women. I also noticed the people I was sitting next to were giving me intimate looks. It only got weirder from here. Part 2 of how a stranger tried to trick me into joining a swingers club. John told me the class was all about empowering women, but this wasn't what I had in mind. I finally got up to leave and John immediately noticed. He saw me in the small audience and told the rest of the class to welcome me and explain how I agreed to attend one session. All eyes were on me at this point, so I decided to sit back down and put the attention back on the instructor. He then continued explaining various methods on how to intimately empower women and couples. Next, he picked 2 people, a man and a woman, to come up to the front of the class to demonstrate. It was kind of like a train wreck that I didn't want to see, but I couldn't look away. At the end of the class, John led us to another room where full-blown activities were going on, if you know what I mean. That's when it finally hit me that this was some type of swingers club. I immediately slid out from the crowd and headed towards the door. That's when John caught up with me and handed me a flyer for the next event. I went home in disbelief and told my roommate about what just happened. I told her about the car wreck, how I got tricked into going to this crazy class, and about that weirdo John. Her reaction was the exact opposite of what I thought it would be. She told me it sounded cool and asked for the flyer. She ended up going to the next class with her boyfriend and is now a regular with John's group. I have feelings for my coworker, but I'm engaged. I work in the medical field in a busy hospital. It feels like we've been short-staffed forever and it never seems to improve. This leads to us having to work double shifts almost daily. The money's great, but I'm rarely ever home. Sometimes we even sleep at the hospital and don't go home for days at a time. The people I work with are amazing and almost like family. At the moment, I see them more than my actual family. We all look out for each other and we're super close. But some of us might be a little too close. There's this guy I work with named Jason that I've developed feelings for. When you're with someone almost 16 hours a day, I guess it's bound to happen. The problem is that I'm already engaged to my fiancé at home. It started out innocent at first. Casual, light flirting here and there, so subtle at times I didn't even think anything of it. One of those situations where you start out as friends, but things keep progressing. I knew my relationship was in jeopardy when Jason and I started texting when we weren't working. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't stop the conversations. If I'm being honest, at times I would be the one to text first and take the conversation away from the friend zone. I haven't talked to my fiancé about it and I'm scared to death too. I still love him and feel terrible that I have feelings for someone else, and I haven't even gotten to the worst part of it all. Part 2, I have feelings for my coworker, but I'm engaged. I didn't tell my fiancé about Jason because I felt like this was only happening because I was never home. I felt like hardly seeing him had to be the root cause of this mess. I talked to him about making more of an effort to see each other despite my crazy schedule. This worked for a little while, but I still had feelings I couldn't deny for Jason despite trying to suppress them. I even told Jason that we had to keep things strictly professional from now on, to which he agreed. However, this agreement didn't last long. Jason and I were assigned to work in the same area for the next month. One night when we were on break together, he started telling me how much he missed talking to me like we used to. One thing led to another, and we ended up making out in the break room. This was the first time it actually got physical between us, but sadly it wasn't the last. I'm ashamed to say it happened a few more times. At this point, I knew this couldn't keep going on, so I made the decision to break up with my fiancé. I quickly found out that this was the wrong choice. Shortly after, I found out that Jason was sleeping with another girl at work. I was crushed and completely cut him off. I realized I made a mistake and tried to reach out to my fiancé, but it was too late. I got distracted by what could have been and lost track of something great that I already had. I still regret it to this day. Story time of how I made my high school bully's dad my sugar daddy. Freshman year wasn't the best time for me. I wasn't the most popular or best looking girl at school. I was really shy, and instead of trying to make friends and talk to people, I kept to myself. Most people let me do my own thing, but then there was a girl named Claire. I don't know what I ever did to this girl, but she made my life miserable every chance she got. Making fun of my looks and putting me down in front of others was almost a daily ritual for Claire. My mom didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't afford the cool clothing brands and styles that we're in. Claire would call me out for being poor and say I got all my clothes from Goodwill, all while laughing. One day at lunch, she smacked the tray out of my hands as I was passing by and food got all over me. This resulted in the whole cafeteria staring and laughing at me. Fast forward to the end of senior year and I had a major glow up. I was more confident, people started noticing me, and I had a lot of friends. I figured it was time to start dating, but I didn't really like anyone at school, so I downloaded a dating app. I matched with a handsome older guy who was looking for a sugar baby. I looked him up on Instagram to see more pictures and saw Claire in one of his photos. Upon further inspection, I discovered that this man was her recently divorced dad. I immediately messaged him. Part 2 of how I made my high school bully's dad my sugar daddy. I began chatting back and forth with Claire's dad through the dating app. He was twice my age, but he was handsome, and given the circumstances, I had to give this my best shot. He told me he was looking for a beautiful girl to spoil and spend time with, and made it very clear that he was interested in me. After talking for a few weeks, we set up our first date, which was dinner at a nice restaurant, followed by shopping. I knew this man had money because I remember Claire being one of the rich girls at school, and I was right. He took me to the Louis store and let me pick out any bag I wanted. We kept talking and it was working out really nicely for me. He would send me money every week for makeup, to get my nails and hair done, or for whatever else I needed in between dates. One week he said he couldn't go on our usual Saturday night outing because his daughter was coming over for dinner. I was not going to waste this opportunity. I told him how much I was looking forward to seeing him and asked if I could join them. He was hesitant at first, but I eventually talked him into it. I'll never forget the look on Claire's face when I walked in and kissed her dad. I showed Claire the new purse that her dad had bought me and bragged about how well he's always treating me. She was fuming and stormed out shortly after. To this day, he's still my sugar daddy and Claire hates everything about it. Story time about how someone broke in when I was babysitting. When I was in high school, I worked as a babysitter to make some extra cash. I posted flyers in the city I lived in with my rates and my number. For the most part, everything was always fairly normal, but that was about to change. One day I got a call from a woman who asked if I could babysit her 2 kids on a Saturday, but she asked if I could stay overnight as she wouldn't be back in town until the next morning. I had never done an overnight job, but she offered to pay me triple of my regular rates and said I wouldn't have to cook as she would leave money so I could order pizza. After getting my parents' approval, I agreed. At the time, I didn't have a car, so my parents dropped me off. When I went inside, she greeted me, explained the house rules, and went on her way. Luckily, I instantly hit it off with the kids, and they even showed me their secret hiding spot, which was a small hidden room inside of their closet. After the pizza arrived, I heard the doorbell ring again. When I opened the door, 2 men were standing there. They were asking for directions, and I know